I Love Softball is a game that adds some additional evidence to one of my big theories of Famicom collecting. If there's a picture of a cartoon girl on it, you're paying at least twice as much. I spent about 2,200 yen on my copy, and I got it cheap. This is our second and final softball game on the Famicom. Softball Tengoku took advantage of the theme to put a distinctive twist on the sports game. I Love Softball is another Family Stadium clone, and not a very good one either. The structure of the game is a bit like the Koshien game we saw a little while ago. These aren't about some hypothetical professional softball leagues. Instead, you're playing out a tournament among the best high school softball teams in Japan. Initially, you select a region, then you select a school within that region. On field, the action is very similar to other baseball games. Hit A to swing while you're batting. While you're pitching, press up or down to control the speed of your pitch. It's the exact same thing that virtually every other baseball game on the Famicom does. I Love Softball fails in two key related areas: the fielding and the AI. Superficially, the fielding problems come across as the same kind of fielding problems that almost all other baseball games have on the system. You can't see where your fielders are, so you can't get underneath balls. Meanwhile, the AI is always directly underneath a pop fly. In fact, I had multiple innings while I was playing that were resolved in 3 pitches. But then things start getting messy. Like how a low ball appears to be about 1.5 feet off the ground, but it'll pass over people, and your fielding is incredibly slow. The women seem to waddle around the field rather than chase after the ball, and when they throw the ball, it is also extremely slow. A double play is virtually impossible since the base runners are almost faster than the ball. And then there's how the players are positioned. I'm pretty confident that they reverse the first and second base women. Whoever's playing first base shouldn't have to run past another player to get to first base. The fielding is just about the worst that I've encountered in any of these games. But then we have the computer players. There are 3 fundamental problems with the AI in this game. First, it loves pitching balls. I don't think I've seen another game as dedicated to throwing balls outside the strike zone as I Love Softball. Batting is actually a little bit tricky because the arc that the ball travels in isn't really reflected well on the screen, so the best thing to do is watch the shadow on the ground. A high arc is really unlikely to reach you without bouncing on the ground first. And low arcs get counted as balls sometimes, even though they go right through the strike zone, so I don't know what was happening there. Unlike a lot of other Famicom baseball games, you don't have to start your swing as the ball leaves the pitcher's hand, so you can get a pretty good feel for when it's going outside. The AI players, on the other hand, seem to have some real vulnerabilities to certain styles of pitching. You can curve the ball pretty sharply, so if you aim at the edge of the strike zone and then have it pull outside, the AI is pretty consistent about swinging at those. I didn't get the technique down perfectly while I was playing, but it felt like this would not be a difficult thing to master. When the ball is in play is when the AI really fails. Assuming that you hit the ball to a place that the computer can't get to it, you're going to find some of the least aggressive fielding ever. If you're 3/4 of the way to the next base and you realize you're not going to make it, you can just turn around and the computer players won't even try to stop you. The AI does nothing to prevent your own aggressive plays. The only real challenge that the computer puts up is that about 80% of the time when you hit the ball, it goes straight into their glove. And most of that remaining 20% are foul balls. If for some reason you decided to subject another player to I Love Softball, then you could either choose from one of the high school teams, or there are some professional teams that have better stats. You can't use the better teams in the single-player game, though. You know, even when it comes to the sports games, I enter these kind of hopeful. It's a softball game. Maybe this one will do something different. And no, the only thing different here is that you only play to 7 innings. If you're playing out the full tournament, there's a password system, but I don't know why someone would want to. I Love Softball's on the lower end of the baseball games that we've seen. And there's way too many better options if you wanted to play 8-bit baseball.